it going, everyone? My name's Alexander Petrie, the owner of Gaming Tracks Radio, and welcome back to another episode of Gaming Tracks. So we recently had the Nintendo Direct and Ocarina of Time Remake. How can this year get any more big and exciting, dude? Like, it's just absolutely crazy to see how many games are releasing this year. Easily for me, this is the best year flat out for gaming. The best year. I love Pokemon Heart Gold. Don't get me wrong. Ocarina of Time is one of my favorite games ever. Flat out. It's a cross between that or Final Fantasy VII. But to see a remake on Ocarina of Time and the ending of the Final Fantasy VII trilogy Revelation coming out within a year from one another. What a time. What a time to be alive. Oh my gosh. I have a Games for Impact here. It's a YouTube video. I found a clip of Robert Pattinson discussing why he loves and gets emotional over Final Fantasy VII. And it's a really funny YouTube video because it's like, believe it or not, it was from an interview. So you just got the interviewer, and then you got Robert Pattinson sitting across from one another, geeking out over this game. But what makes it funny is you got Zoe Kravitz sitting next to Robert, and she's just like the third wheel. She's just like, I don't relate to this stuff. And it's such a funny video. Stay tuned for that in the second half as I also go ahead and talk about why I love Final Fantasy VII. And speaking of Final Fantasy VII, before we touch into all this stuff, so there was some interviews regarding Revelation that has come out. And I'm not going to talk about every single one of the reveals from these interviews. I feel like I could pick and choose as the episodes go along here. But I'm someone who loves Remake and Rebirth. But I'm also a really big individual on preservation. Now, what does that mean? What am I talking about here? I am not a fan of the direction they're going with in Remake and Rebirth. And in my perspective, I feel like the game would have been way stronger if they just kept to the original source material. Now, the things that do retain, like, I love Under Junon and the whole Junon sequence. I think the addition of Yuffie's involvement with that in Chapter 4 of Rebirth, I love that stuff, okay? I think they did a really great job at kind of getting her involved with the main story because, you know, in the original game, she was an optional character. So finding a way to inject her into the main story, I think they did a great job with it. But not everything's perfect. I'm not a big fan of the whispers. I'm not a big fan of multiple timelines and all the shenanigans of trying to find a reason of injecting the entire compilation into one game. I don't know why they had to do that. It's fan service in my eyes. But some of these some of the things that they talked about, like the big one for me is getting rid of Bone Village. And yeah, I know there's people out there that are probably going to say, well, it served no purpose except for side quests, which is true. I mean, that's how you get the key to go to Sector 5 and obtain Tifa's ultimate weapon, as well as seeing Aerith in the church again. That was kind of creepy, wasn't it? But my argument on why they shouldn't have got rid of Bone Village is this. Why is it that they remove something in the first line of defense's side quests when in Rebirth they had a section of Junon that was called the Crow's Nest? And it served no plot to the game. It had a bunch of side quests crammed within it, whether that's a side quest for Kyrie or, doing more Queen's Blood matches, or the piano mini game that was in that semi-town. I mean, it was a very bustling town, wasn't it? But it really gave me feelings of Bone Village, and not the location itself, but the fact that there was no plot or service to why this existed. So my question is, why would they remove something that was in the original game, but add something that wasn't, but they both service the same thing, which is side content? And the crow's nest served no purpose more than acting as a bridge to reach what I'm trying to remember what it was. I think wasn't it a lighthouse on the other end of Junon? But it served as the bridge, and you couldn't access that location unless you managed to cross through the crow's nest, and you weren't able to access it until you did a side quest. So that entire area was side quest heavy, but the argument is Bone Village was side quests. Not important. And it's not about whether or not Bone Village was an important part of Final Fantasy VII. It's the fact that it was a part of Final Fantasy VII to begin with. That's my issue. I don't think they're gonna get rid of anything else, and if they do, then you'll hear me in another video talking about that. But my only line of reasoning to why they did this is I could see them adding more excavation sites, more digging spots with your chocobo, and to me, that's the only explanation to why they removed this, because the chocobos do the digging. They did it in Rebirth already. So that's my best argument, but there might be excavation sites that function as multiple bone villages. It's just not a location. I guess that kind of substitutes for exploration, but at the same time, they could just do that stuff and include Bone Village all at the same time. But that's my take on that. And the other one I want to share. So we get to Highwind, and I've seen a couple interviews, and they all pretty much lined up very similarly. But I heard that the Highwind is accessible between 5 and 6 hours. What that tells me is we are starting from Icicle Inn, going through the Great Glacier, meeting Sephiroth in the Junon situation with Sapphire Weapon and all the sorts. All of this will be happening in that time, and then we end up getting the Highwind. I don't think we're going to be starting in Midgar, because that was a really big claim or theory that a lot of people were assuming for Final Fantasy VII Revelation. And I don't think so, because 5 to 6 hours to obtain the Highwind, that is very fast in my opinion. Like 5 to 6 hours, and all of a sudden we could explore wherever. I love that they're just throwing us right in there and not having to wait like 20 hours and stuff. But my biggest issue is I heard Chadley will be a permanent part of the Highwind. And people listening, and people that know me, you would know I cannot stand Chadley. My biggest issue with Chadley is he is a forced shove-in just to do additional battles. He feels disconnected from the world. He doesn't feel very interesting as a character. I mean, he is a robot. He is some kind of android, so perhaps that can be your argument of why he is very uninteresting. But he was just relatively annoying in Rebirth. And my biggest concern for the Highwind stuff is I leave the cockpit area. I walk across the Highwind, getting ready to skydive. But between the cockpit area and the outside of the Highwind, I feel like I'm going to walk past Chadley, and he's going to be like, "Hey, Cloud, you got some more VR missions to do." If that happens, I am going to be really aggravated really fast. Really, like, it's going to be annoying. Okay, I really don't like the VR stuff going on. I really wish they could add that stuff in the overworld, and I think they could still do that. I think that's still a possibility of what Revelation's going to do because it was such a big complaint from what I've seen from YouTubers. What I think would be at least interesting, because now we have to figure out, okay, what can Chadley do to fit into the game? So now I'm just trying to find stuff that we can have him be used for. So I think upgrading the Highwind could be a possibility. And I think that would work extremely well to when the Highwind gets those thrusters towards the, late game. I can see that. I can see maybe upgrades on weapons or suits or something, just upgrading abilities. I'd love to see upgrades to focus thrust and whatnot. How would that happen? I don't know. I just want everything to be 100% full effort in this last game. I don't want to be asking for any more stuff because, with this last game, what we end up with is what we end up with. Coming up next is a Games for Impact, but I saw that we got some information regarding Kingdom Hearts. No release date, sadly, but for those fans who finally felt sane, I see you too. Let's go ahead and play Dearly Beloved from Kingdom Hearts 3.
It is time to brace for impact.
Brace for impact. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Gaming Tracks. My name's Alexander Petrie. And for today's Games for Impact, I have a clip here from Robert Pattinson. I remember seeing this clip a while back, maybe 4 years ago or something. But it's a clip of him discussing why Final Fantasy VII is the only game that made him cry. It's a really great YouTube video. It's going to be him and an interviewer discussing while you got Zoe Kravitz. You got Zoe Kravitz right next to Robert Pattinson, just acting as a third wheel. Take a listen to this.
Can we talk about, we have something in common, we cry on video games.
Wait, what?
We cry when we play video games.
You do?
Just
Yeah.
one.
And the same.
Yeah, for the same
I
place.
cried in the same scene.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy.
What game? I mean, I wouldn't know. Doesn't matter. Don't
Final-
continue.
Final
Have this
Fantasy
conversation.
Then my fella was in love as well. Was in love with
Yeah.
Eris. And Tifa.
And Tifa, of course.
Yeah, everybody wants to have both.
Yeah. But
It's the
No
two
idea.
sides, it's the two options of girls. You can have this.
you don't
you
know
can have-
Final Fantasy? No.
It's the best.
We
was.
think with a child who will never grow up, that's it? You're judging us.
I'm not.
You are.
I'm standing back and allowing you two to have.
There's a scene.
I know nothing
where
about
you-
video
this is
games.
a way
I'm not
to-
judging you
This is a way to judge us more.
by not saying anything. I don't know what to.
It's a love triangle where Eris or Aerith, depending on what version of the game you have, sometimes it's mistranslated. She's the really kind girl who has superpowers, to heal everyone and make the world a better place.
Or women, we have to heal everyone.
And then Tifa's
Exhausting.
this sexy little thing who's a thief and stuff. She wears a short skirt, and you're like, I can't decide. And then Eris,
This is crazy.
and Eris
Okay.
right at her peak gets killed.
This is being an adult.
And
This is what it's like. No, it's not about being I'm cool
This is
with.
how every guy figures out what love is. And then that's the ideal woman, and it never gets any. You never.
Either the one that's going to heal everything or the one in the short skirt. These are the options.
There's
Oh my
the two
god.
options.
This is the problem with the world. We'll talk about that later.
But yeah, this is one of my favorite videos on YouTube because it kind of reminds us that, you just never know who is a fan of video games. And it's not just Robert Pattinson who loves video games. There's other actors too. The one that really pops in my head is Henry Cavill. He loves video games. But, just to hear someone not just talk about Final Fantasy VII, but nerd out about it. Like he knows, and he mentions that Aerith has a mistranslation in the original. Her name was translated as Eris. Only someone who's obsessed with Final Fantasy VII would know this stuff. If someone just casually plays through the game and said, okay, that's a pretty good game, they wouldn't know this stuff. But I just find it funny because you got Robert Pattinson, who's really big on it. He's out here nerding out. He's explaining Aerith. He's explaining Tifa and what they do, their own personalities. And then you got Zoe Kravitz going like what is this stereotypical BS? Like this is how they see women in video games. It's just really funny. But Final Fantasy VII is in fact one of my favorite. It is my favorite video game of all time. I absolutely love it. It's just the themes that carry throughout it. And if you keep up with the remake trilogy, you'll know that the theme is a very big identifier to what would be the backbone of each of the games. Final Fantasy VII is a theme-first type of game. And a big way of them sort of diving into the theme, and this is what they do for like the hard hitters, is that they try to tie it directly into the characters. And each of the characters have their own personality, kind of like what Robert Pattinson was describing. But each of them carry a sort of emotional impact on their own life, as each one is involved in Shinra's one way or another. Like, for an example, you look at a character like Barrett, and he's an individual that grieves over actions brought to him by Shinra, and all he can do is push that anger on Shinra. But as you explore the game, and this is the big thing, as you explore the game, you'll find out that he puts a lot of the blame on himself. And this is just some of the theming that goes a long way in Final Fantasy VII. And portions of Barrett's arc is trying to find a way to release the blame, relieve the self-doubt, and carry on with life. Another example, I don't want to go too much into spoilers for this one because it's a pretty significant part of the game, but Cloud Strife, he has a sort of identity crisis. He's not sure exactly what's going on with himself. And as you go farther and farther into the game, it raises more questions. You're like, okay, who is this mysterious Cloud character? He seems very reserved. He just seems like a character that is honestly questionable of whether or not he's good or bad. As you explore the game, you'll start understanding why he acts the way he acts. And it's not until Disc 3 that all of the questions that you have get resolved, which is exactly what Final Fantasy VII Revelation, the final part of this remake trilogy, that's exactly what Revelation's theme is. It's to receive answers. It's to know exactly what's going on with the story, because things get really confusing. Like, it's not an easy game to understand. I thought the original game was confusing. Oh, Nomura completely did a Nomura here. It's really confusing. It's very convoluted. And until then, all we can really do is theorize and try to figure out the breadcrumbs. But the answers, there's no clear-cut answer to the remake trilogy so far. I have a love-hate relationship with it, but if you're curious of what that looks like, I love it as a game. I don't love it as a remake. I think it is a very poor one-to-one remake. And if someone comes up to me and says, how good's this remake? I'd say it's good, but what remake are we talking about here? Don't go anywhere. Coming up will be our discussion on the Nintendo Direct that occurred on Tuesday. But in the meantime, let's listen to Alicia from Expedition 33. Welcome back to Gaming Tracks. My name's Alexander Petrie. So I will be talking about this by myself today. I wanted to see how I can do on my own. I'm still discovering this radio station. I feel like it'd be important to at least explore options. You know what I mean? I just want to try doing different things, then I'll determine what I prefer. But anyway, the Nintendo Direct, I did not actually watch it live. And the reason why is because I was getting the previous episode ready to stream. I didn't actually finish that episode until like 5 a.m. So I needed some sleep. But I woke up at probably, I want to say around 12 p.m. And I went on Discord. I saw my friend. He's like freaking out. He's like, Ocarina of Time, there's a remake. So I basically rushed to YouTube. I nearly tripped on my way there. But I went to YouTube, watched the trailer, the quote-unquote trailer. There's hardly anything at all. I'm really sick and tired of games showing us a trailer, and it's like, basically nothing. It's not much. It's basically confirmation that it exists. But you get these analysis videos, and they're like, okay, let's try to figure out how we could push this to gain monetization. Let's make this like 15 minutes. And it's like the whole teaser shows one clip, basically. But the Direct was... Thank God I didn't see it live. My gosh. That Direct was really bad. I'd argue that was probably... And this is what I've been saying. I've texted my friends on this. It is probably the best, worst Direct I've ever seen from Nintendo. It's crazy. It's actually crazy because this is the most excited I've ever got after watching a Direct. But the Direct itself is not good. It's really not good. I skimmed through the Direct and I'm like, what is this? Just a partner showcase or what? They hardly showed Nintendo IPs throughout this entire thing. And the ones that they did show outside of Ocarina of Time were pretty lukewarm. Like it was really nothing sauce, in my opinion. Like, oh man, let me just start talking about the Nintendo Switch Sports Resort. What an awful idea that is. First of all, they don't have Miis, but they did add these Mii-looking things. Like, they're not even Miis. They're like some sort of abomination. But it's weird. Their proportions look weird. It's like, what is this? Like, why is Nintendo being so out of touch with the Mii idea? Just the Mii concept. I don't know. People loved the sport games because of the Miis. And don't get me wrong, all of the other content, all the sports that you could play and stuff were great in the original. But it was the Miis that really solidified this of being a classic. Now you're looking at this Switch Sports Resort. They get rid of a lot of the mini games, a lot of the sport games, and they add really dumb ones like thumb wrestling. Really? Why are they? Have you seen the memes floating around on X? Oh my gosh. Oh no. The thumb wrestling. Oh, what an awful mini game to include. That's not even a sport. But why didn't they add the sword fighting one? I love the sword fight. Like, you could do different levels, like, or something. Like, in my opinion, what they should have done was make a whole brand new island with different content, add baseball. Why is there no baseball? I don't know. Was there base? I don't look into this stuff because I honestly could it's not my cup of tea, so I could honestly care less. But was there baseball in the original Switch sports or no? Because if not, then like, what are they doing? Baseball was a really fun sport in Wii Sports, but they haven't had it back since. And so their idea was, okay, let's what sport should we add? And then you have someone on the other side of the table going, how about we thumb wrestle to decide which sport to put in? And then you got a third person at the table going, wait a minute. I think I have an idea. Who decided thumb wrestling? That is one of the worst additions I think I've ever seen to any of the Nintendo sport games. Like, I think the idea was really stupid. It was not smart whatsoever. But does that mean every single sports game they included was bad? No, I actually think and to be honest with you, I think they should bring back the Wii Fit. But I think the skateboarding one was a really big pull, in my opinion. Like, out of all the sports that they did not feature in any of the other Wii Sport games, I feel like adding skateboarding was really the identifier to me. Like, I looked at it and I was like, oh, that seems like a really cool concept. Like, if you could go ahead and skate and grind wherever you want on Woohoo Island, if that's the case, then like, dude, we skate. That's basically what it is. It's Nintendo Skate. And I think that's a really, that was, in my opinion, that was the coolest sport that they showed. Because everything else, I'm like, all right, it's just rehash sports like bowling. How many times do you have to add bowling? And it's a popular one, so I understand why they include it in every game. But, you know, the idea of adding more creative, fun sports is a big draw. And to me, I think skateboarding was a really great addition to the game. I think it actually gives good use for once to use the mouse controls. So any way to find a way to use the mouse, because let me tell you, I don't think there's enough games that feature it enough. But to be able to use the mouse feature on this game for skateboarding, I feel like that was a smart move. Now, how well would it function? I don't know. But like I said, I think it would be very cool if they were to bring back the Wii Fit. And was there ever a skateboard game that featured the Wii Fit? If not, then like, Nintendo, you missed your chance, and it's still an opportunity. Bring back the Wii Fit if you want to, but that's an opportunity. I think that would be a really cool opportunity. Stepping away from the sports nonsense, I think the beginning of the Direct was relatively weak. I think if there was any game I would have shown, it would have been the Duskbloods, because there is a lot of FromSoft fans out there. I'm sure there's a lot of FromSoft fans who bought a Nintendo Switch just to play the Duskbloods. And I feel like that would have been the perfect game to show off at the very beginning. It would be something that people would have, like, I was expecting the Duskbloods to be shown. And if they showed that in the beginning, I would have been like, okay, but then what's going to be at the end? You know what I mean? Like, then it really questions, so we got one of the big bangs, what are the other ones? And what would end up happening is people would stay tuned in. But it's not just being tuned in that's the only thing. It's also just, if you have a game, and the State of Play did this, so did Summer Game Fest, but if you start an event with a big game, then you'll have the rest of the direct for people to watch, because normally how I notice what they do is that they start strong, they end strong, and they have sprinkles of strength in between. And if you don't begin with like a really popular Nintendo IP or something that is very big in regards to fan base, then people will probably tune out, if I'm being honest. Like, because this is the most important part to any event, it could be anything, a game, a book, a movie, a TV show. You need to have a very strong opening for people to stay tuned. And to me, this, as soon as I saw the first game, when I was skimming through the direct, I'm like, oh no. Oh no. Now, I wouldn't say, let me just clarify this. I'm not a huge fan of, like, a huge fanboy of Nintendo. Like, I own a Switch too, so I do play Nintendo games. Like, I do play the Nintendo franchises. But here's the issue that starts forming, in the Nintendo Direct completely proves me right. But here's the thing. There's not enough broad first-party Nintendo games are out right now. There's not enough. Unless if you want to play the Switch 2 Welcome Tour. Have at it if you want to. But, like, unless if you're into racing games or platformers like Donkey Kong Bonanza, or let's say a mediocre Metroid Prime, then I wouldn't get a Switch 2. And if you plan on getting a Switch 2 for Ocarina of Time, get it now before September. Because that's why I bought a Switch 2, is because I saw it was going to increase in price, and I just wanted to get my hands on a Switch 2, because I knew something was going to pique my interest at some point. And I was correct. But anyway, this stuff it's getting me to ramble on. To go from that, I'll save Ocarina of Time till the end, because I feel like I have a lot to say on that. But they showed off Kingdom Hearts. Am I the only one that looked at this and was like, this is kind of lame? Now, not the Kingdom Hearts itself, but Square Enix revealing it with no new information. Nothing. No release window, nothing. And I told my brother this. I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen a game with 2 teaser trailers before. When did they announce Kingdom Hearts 4? I want to say 2022. And they provided nothing. They showed it at this Nintendo Direct, and guess what? They provided nothing. Now, I did see rumors floating around saying that it was going to be releasing in 2027. I would not be surprised if it gets pushed off to 2028. But it just makes me question, what is taking them so long? What are their divisions doing? What are they doing that, like, people are hungry for this? They are hungry for this, and there is nothing to really provide us with. This teaser, and I'm calling it a teaser because I don't have any information on it, but this quote-unquote teaser was more or less just reassurance. It's just to provide people, like, by the way, you know that game that we revealed 4 years ago? We want to let you guys know it still exists. That's all it is. So I watched this and I thought it was kind of lame that they didn't provide any information. And Square, if you're listening, please give us something next time. Don't show us something and then provide us with nothing at the very end. At least a window. At least provide us with a window of when it will release. Whether that's next winter or, next summer or whatever. Provide us with something next time. Now, on to the big boy. On to the thing that saved this F-tier Direct to an instant A+ iconic Direct. This was what I've been waiting for a very long time. Ocarina of Time, dude. Ocarina of Time remake. People are putting memes on X with GTA 6 versus Ocarina of Time. This is going to be the battle of the ages. If it comes out early November, and I do think it's going to come out in November. You want to know why? GTA 6 and Ocarina of Time are two completely different audiences. There is no concern of GTA being the end all be all, the game that consumes everything. Ocarina of Time has that same ability. I really do think it has that same ability. So releasing it in November would be the perfect place to drop it. No other game exists in November besides GTA. It's just in time for the holiday season. Get your Ocarina of Time. It's perfect. It's actually perfect to release it at that window. If I was in charge of Nintendo, I'd be like, let's be the brave ones, boys. And I'd drop it right there. I'd drop it on the same day. I'd be like, here you go. I'd drop it the same day and I'd be like, take this, GTA. Let's go. Let's go. Ocarina of Time versus GTA Game Awards. Let's do it. Let's do it. But Ocarina of Time, I really hope they don't screw it up. You heard me earlier in today's episode. I was talking about the changes made in Final Fantasy VII, and I hope the changes that they do in Ocarina of Time, I hope it feels like when that come out, 1998. I hope it still has that same feeling. I want it to feel modern, but at the same time, I want it to have respect. And this is the whole thing. This is what I care most about when it comes to remakes. I want it to be respected. Okay, you look at Resident Evil 2 remake. That was respectable. They changed it enough to make it feel modern, but at the same time, they kept the core aspects of what made Resident Evil 2 iconic. And then you take a look at Resident Evil 3 and you're like, nah. They changed way too much. They removed stuff. Don't remove anything in Ocarina of Time and just make it modern looking. It's an instant win. But I would be curious if they add dungeons, if they add content to fulfill the needs of the individuals that love Ocarina of Time. The first time I played Ocarina of Time was on the 3DS of all things. And that's a repetitive thing you'll find is a lot of my favorite games were on handhelds. But when I played Ocarina of Time, like I hope they don't change the dungeons too much. And that's my biggest concern. Will they make the water temple easier? Will they babyfy it? Will they make it almost way too kid-like? If you understand what I'm getting at. Because what made games in the 1990s so fun was the difficulty of them. They were really hard. And the dungeons in Ocarina of Time were unique, they were fun, they were creative, and they were challenging. And I just hope they keep that aspect going forward into this remake. I hope they don't thank God it's not cell shaded. Everyone was like, let's make it cell shaded. Don't. I don't want this to feel like a Breath of the Wild. And this is the exact art style I was begging for them to do for this, where it's like an upscaled, sort of modern looking N64 version of the game. That's all you have to do. Just make it look modern. And that's what they did. I'm so glad they didn't change the art direction. I'm really curious on some of the combat changes or the traversal changes. I really hope it stays the whole spider web sort of Hyrule Field's the main point of interest, but then it branches off into spider legs, so you could like go in this sort of linear path. Like they did a really great job at making it feel open world, but at the same time, it still has that linear feeling to it. These are just some of the reasons why I believe Ocarina of Time was one of the greatest games ever made. Is it feels like the direction of the game was decided day one. They knew how to make this game. They wanted it to feel big, but at the same time, they wanted to skew people off into specific directions. I don't want this Ocarina of Time to delve too much into, oh, you can climb mountains, you can do this, you can do that. Now, do I want them to add more locations? I think that'd be fun. I think that would be interesting if they add more side content, sort of optional dungeons, or even side quests. Like there was some side quests in the original Ocarina of Time, specifically the what was it called? The one sword that you had to, you basically had to play messenger to, get this sword fixed and repaired. I'm not saying that I want the side quests to be exactly like that, but what I am saying is I want side quests to have depth to it. I don't want it to be surface level, go to this location, kill enemies, like a fetch quest or something. I want it to have layers to it. But some of the other things that, hearing Ocarina of Time remake, all right, just imagine this. Okay, close your eyes. Like seriously, close your eyes. Imagine you're hearing the Temple of Time music, dude. Listen to the Temple of Time music. You got the floor going on here. It's very reflective. It's, I don't know if the Switch 2 can do ray tracing, but just imagine some sort of like ray tracing on the floor. You get to see Link's reflection, and off right in front of you is a pitch black room. The dark room, you walk in it, and you see sun rays, like light rays, coming from a really high window, shining down on the ground. That's the only light you see in that room. Ugh. Imagine that on the Switch 2. Oh my gosh. People would be taking screenshots. That would flutter. That would completely flood X for I kid you not. That would be on there for probably a good week at least. Just the Temple of Time stuff. I would be freaking out just seeing some of these locations and how they modernize it, like the Deku Tree. How would that look? It has this musty appearance to it. It looks very, like a green tint, and that's what I'm most excited for. Is the feeling you get from being in certain locations, and that's what Ocarina of Time does extremely well. Like the Shadow Temple, it's all dark, it's all grim, or the same thing with Under the Well or In the Well. It's just very dark. Keep the music the same, okay? Just remaster it or something. Like don't change so much of it to the point where it feels like a completely new arrangement. But some of the other things that I'm thinking about when it comes to Ocarina of Time is like, will there? I'm sure, the Ocarina functionality to it would be great and all, but my question is, will there be more songs? Will there be more songs for Ocarina of Time? If there's new locations, will there be more songs you could sing or play on your Ocarina to do? Like that? That's the stuff I'm questioning. Will there be more music in this game? If so, what will the music be? And the last thing I'll say here is voice acting. Voice acting. I really hope they do, like, Sheik, Zelda. What voice actors are we talking about here? And when I saw I was actually really fascinated with the decision on how the logo looks, because if you compare the two, it is exactly the same font as Breath of the Wild. So is it like a loose, I don't want to say spin-off, because this is Ocarina of Time if anything, Breath of the Wild is a spinoff of Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time's massive, okay? But my question is whether or not this remake is inspired by Breath of the Wild. Like, basically what I'm getting at is, will the voice actors for Breath of the Wild be the same in this Ocarina of Time remake? That's what I'm getting at here. I'm not saying it's like a spinoff or anything, but are they being influenced? Like, will Ocarina of Time be influenced to the point where we get voice acting from Breath of the Wild and put into this game? All right, I think I touched on all the major points I wanted to discuss. If you guys haven't yet, please go ahead, check out gamingtracks.com. I have all the episodes on there. If you ever miss one, no sweat. It's on there. It's also on various podcast streaming platforms, whether that's Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It's also on YouTube. So go ahead, go on YouTube, check that stuff out. And I also have other content creators that are collaborating with me on this radio station. I'll mention it right now because I plan on doing this here very soon. I'm going to be having Warriors of Hype. Their past episodes will be featured on the radio station on weekends, starting at 9 p.m. on Saturdays. I also have another content creator featured on the radio station. His name is Podcast Now, aka Alex. Fantastic name, might I add. But he will be airing at 9 a.m., doing a bunch of news discussions. You'll be able to listen to one of his episodes. He does multiple episodes a day, but I'll be featuring one of his episodes. If you want to watch any more, please go ahead, check out his YouTube channel. He has a lot more stuff worth discussing. In fact, with Podcast Now, he just sent me a Games for Impact. I will be featuring that on Tuesday's episode next week. Stay tuned for that. Get to know Alex a little bit as Alex and Alex have a conversation about his Games for Impact. I'll see you guys next time. Love you.